Hey, what's up everyone? This doesn't feel right. After playing this game, let's take it outside. What the heck? Yeah, it's so humid, I don't think we're gonna be able to film outside. Let's go back in. Alright, so, it's here. It's out. I'm sure a lot of you guys have been wondering, and a lot of you guys have been asking, where's my review of this thing? What do I actually think of this thing? And I think now, after playing it and nearly 100%ing it, I feel like I can say. Yeah guys, I'm just gonna cut straight to the chase. I do think Sonic Frontiers is the best Sonic game ever made. A lot of you guys might be incredibly surprised, a lot of you guys might be angry, happy, excited. I'm sure a lot of emotions are going through your head when you hear that statement. Traditionally when I do like reviews and stuff, it's scripted and I go in depth with it, but I kind of realized as time has gone on, when it comes to video games, that's not really my field. When there's stuff like movies and television and stuff like that, scripted, you know, film, programming, television, that stuff, that's where my real expertise is. And while I love Sonic video games, and it's obviously a part of the franchise I love and adore, I'm also not going to sit up here on my Sonic the Hedgehog YouTube channel acting like I'm this video game professor who knows everything about level design and momentum and physics and stuff, because I don't. How I judge video games is very simple. Is it fun? Does it work well? And when it comes to Sonic, does this service the franchise? Does this service the series? Does this service the characters that I obviously love and adore? And the answer to all of those questions is yes. Sonic Frontiers not only succeeds in its mission of building the foundation of where Sonic goes in the future, but also restoring Sonic to where he was in the past. Over the past 10 years, we've received games like Forces, Lost World, Generations, Colors, which, while some of those games are good, like the latter, games like Forces and Lost World were not really the foundations of where Sonic should go for the future. It was very limiting on how long you could get away with continuing that stale gameplay style. As stated in interviews by Sonic team head Takashi Iizuka, it was made very loud and very apparent that the future of Sonic the Hedgehog needed to happen now. The landscape of video games was changing, it allowed gamers to have more freedom that can be seen with all of these video games that have been more linear, going in a more open world direction. It was only a matter of time before Sonic had to take that next step, rather than looking back on the past. Because that's really all the 2010s were for Sonic. It was just looking back on the past. It was time for something new, and I think Sega found the way to go from here on out. Surprise, surprise, the open world of Sonic Frontiers is the best part of this game. It is so fun, it is so vast, it is so wide. The maps are huge, there's so much stuff to do in them, there's so many things to collect, to unlock, to battle. There are many different types of enemies. You have your traditional smaller enemies, and you got your mini bosses, and then you got your titans. Oh my gosh, we'll get to the titans later, but all of those being condensed into these 5 islands was so amazing. I loved exploring them. I think the most cohesive island is what a lot of people are saying, Kronos Island. They definitely spent the most time on that, as that is the first island, and while you can feel a little bit of a trail off, I don't think any of the other islands get particularly bad. I thought Ares was still really fun, and there was a lot of variety in the locations as well there. While Chaos had a lot of 2D sections, which I would cut back on, and in fact I probably would cut that out completely, I still had a lot of fun in that location as well. And Islands 4 or 5 are very interesting as well. Those are definitely the ones I don't see people returning to, specifically 4. 4 is mainly entirely story based, like once when you play it you've already 100%ed it. There's nothing to collect, there's nothing to really do outside of just run around if you want to. And Island 5 is still a really great island I had a lot of fun on, but also is very similar looking to Kronos. But once again, still a very fun island. I think all of the islands in the open world gameplay work so well here. They're not boring, they're not empty, there's stuff to do. The meat of Sonic Frontiers works so well, and I think it already works so well here that there is so much more that they could go off of in the future to build upon this. But like I said, this is just the meat of Sonic Frontiers. There's so much more than just the open world gameplay. Then you have the sides of Sonic Frontiers. Cyberspace. Okay, this is where we might get into some weird territory here. I know a lot of people are not liking Cyberspace right now, and that's completely fine. Once again, all my opinions don't have to be yours. If you guys disagree with everything I'm saying here, that's completely fine, but I liked Cyberspace. Is it my favorite Boost gameplay? Absolutely not. It's like a better Forces Boost Sonic, I'd say. I think Cyberspace has some of the best level design we've seen in 3D Sonic in a while. Is it borrowing from past level design? Yes, but you know what? I'm fine with it because it plays good. I like their objectives in the Cyberspace. You don't just zoom through and boom, you're done. You have to get the S ranks or an amount of rings. You have to get all of the red rings. There's so much stuff you have to do, and I love that. I didn't find a single one that I just didn't want to play. I had fun with all of them. They are are bite-sized so they don't overstay their welcome, which I think is great. If there is one knock I do have against Cyberspace, it would be the knock that everyone else has. I really would have loved some different iconography. I'm kind of sick of Green Hill, Chemical Plant, Sky Sanctuary. I kind of wish that Iizuka and Sonic Team would just come out and be like, hey, Green Hill Zone is going to be in every Sonic game, we're never getting rid of it. I'm fine with that, but Chemical Plant and Sky Sanctuary, I think it's a little much. The city level was cool, but I really want some brand new locations in an upcoming Sonic game. That's really my only gripe, but it's not the biggest. The Titan fights. Oh my gosh, the Titan fights. I'm really hoping that there's an update of this game that gives you the chance to replay Titan fights, because I think this is the best Supersonic has ever been in any Sonic game. These are the most fun boss fights actually in any Sonic game. It is so satisfying just wailing on enemies, and they're not easy to bring down. You gotta hit them repeatedly, you gotta parry their attacks. And the music, guys, there was metal music, screamo in Sonic. I never expected to hear that. I was like legit taken aback when I heard it. In fact, I think the Titan music is the best music in Sonic Frontiers in terms of vocal songs. Obviously, the rest of the OST is amazing. I think the Cyberspace levels have an amazing techno sound to them. I feel like that's what Forces was trying to do with classic Sonic, but completely failed on. This gets it right though. It has amazing sampling of vocals, crisp synths in the background, it's beautiful, and obviously the open world theme, the orchestral score is amazing. The pianos, the violins, everything meshes perfectly together to create a scenic, a mysterious, and ominous feeling that just adds to the vibe of the game. It's fantastic. Visually, the game is great. I think there's a lot to build off of. I think the game could have looked much better with some more polishing, but by no means does the game look bad. I think it looks very beautiful. In terms of a Sonic game, I think it is the best we've seen since Unleashed. I think it did a good job of balancing a realistic and also stylized look to Sonic. Now here's the biggest part. This is one of the more interesting aspects of Sonic Frontiers. The story. Well, I don't know if I'm ready to call this the best Sonic story yet, because SA2, in my opinion, is still very hard to top. I would say this is on the level of Sonic Unleashed. This tugged at a lot of the same heartstrings for me. This touched on a lot of the same messages of that game, actually. I think it does a good job at maturing Sonic, and not only as a story, but also the characters within it. While not going into grave details or grave spoilers here, I think this is the best character work we've seen between Sonic and his friends quite possibly ever. In terms of a video game, there are some of the best moments between Sonic and Knuckles, between Sonic and Tails. This is the best Amy has ever been in a Sonic game. Let me get that clear. This is the best she has ever been. They have completely redeemed her character. And while yes, Eggman is incredibly toned down and isn't in the game that much, he still plays a very cool role in it, and I loved Mike Pollock's performance. And I know we've been speaking on other characters, but Sonic. Sonic is the mascot of Sega, the name of the game, the name of the franchise, the main character. So it's the most important they get that right. Oh boy, did they get him right. There's a moment between Sonic and Knuckles where they don't even speak, and I never thought I'd see this, but just the look on Sonic's face, and you could see the optimism, but also the sadness that he feels inside, and I was just like, wow, this is incredible. While it definitely does play into the power of friendship thing, this is some of the most badass Sonic has been in a game. This is the most loving Sonic has been in a game, the most careful, the most likable he's been in a game. I think this gets his character more right than anything. I do think because of some of the ways that the cutscenes were programmed or something, some of the dialogue can come up a little bit unnatural. That's not the fault of the script or dialogue or anything like that. I think it's simply because of the game. I will say that some of the cutscenes are a little lackluster in terms of their presentation, but in terms of the dialogue and the story, that's where the meat and the core of it should be, and they get that right, and that makes me happy. The theme of Sonic Frontiers and being okay with death and being able to let go and move on is crazy. Never expected to see that from a Sonic game. There's some great lore, there are some great callbacks, there's tying the Sonic franchise with its past. Adventure was over 20 years ago, it's kind of treated like it's 20 years ago, but it still existed, it still happened, and that's great. Sage is a great character. Now, while I don't want to say she's the best antagonist, because I don't believe I can entirely even call her that, because for a majority of the game I wouldn't say she is, I still loved her, and she had some great moments specifically towards the end of this game, and seeing her connection with humanity, and seeing the humanity and the vulnerability and also the empathy that Sonic and his friends possess was also really beautiful to see. Not being able to feel love, not being able to feel family, being an AI, it's really crazy. And her relationship with Eggman, specifically as it grows towards the end of the game, very beautiful. And sets up for some really cool things to come later down the line. Whether we'll see that or not, we'll have to wait and see. They might want to go in a different direction with different characters, but wow, that was crazy, that was great. I loved Eggman in this. The final shot of the game is with Eggman, and it was awesome. So I'm not ready to say it's the best story, it's the best the characters have been. This is the best Sonic has been. He feels three-dimensional. All the characters feel three-dimensional. And I'm excited to see where the next game will go, as I believe it will tie into this story more closely than it wouldn't. I don't have anything bad to say. I really don't. The game is just as long as it needed to be. It took me maybe 2 days to complete while I was doing things in and out, hanging out with friends, going to the gym, getting food. I was able to knock it out in 2 days, and yeah, it was the perfect length it needed to be. The first island took me about as long as Sonic Forces. It's not the longest Sonic game ever, I don't believe. Now, I know the title of this video and me saying I believe this is the best Sonic game ever made may sound very radical, and I know it is. This isn't me trying to get clicks. This isn't me trying to ride Sega, because Sega ain't paying me, unless Sega, you wanna pay me. This isn't for any game. This isn't me being hyperbolic. I believe that Sonic Frontiers is the best Sonic game. This is obviously better than Forces, obviously better than Lost World. I think this is a more complete game than Sonic Generations, than Sonic Colors. While I'd say it's around the same length as this game, I think Sonic Frontiers does a much better job at executing on all fronts, better than Sonic Unleashed did. The 06 is still my favorite, but it is better than 06, obviously. Heroes, the adventure games, I know I'm gonna get clowned on for saying that. I think this does a better job at doing what it's supposed to do, executing on all fronts better than any Sonic game. Maybe saying adventure, well, yeah, the story's cool. I like playing as Sonic, and Tails is kind of fun, but I barely like playing as any of the other characters. Same applies to Sonic Adventure 2 as well. I love the story, I love playing as Sonic and Shadow, but I hate playing as all the other characters. Also, Unleashed, like I mentioned, it just does a better job at executing on all fronts. Werehog does hurt that game a lot, even though I do love it. This is just such a complete Sonic the Hedgehog experience. This is just as good as a Sonic game as it could be. It is not perfect by any means. It is not a masterpiece. It's not perfect, but no Sonic game is. Every single Sonic game has a flaw, something holding it down in some way. This, though, doesn't really. There are issues with it. There are problems, like I've mentioned earlier, but they're so minute, so minuscule, that if they're perfected in a future release, it could be a masterpiece. It could be the best Sonic game ever made. I'm shocked that we received this. I'm shocked that it turned out as well as it did. This is exactly what the franchise needed going into the future. After the success of the Sonic movie franchise, the TV branch starting up and seemingly going to give us something truly special with Sonic Prime. The comics are growing strong, licensing is bigger than ever. The games, what started Sonic, a very integral piece of the franchise, needed to get going, right. I'm so happy that it did. This is going to be the Sonic game that will be a kid's first. This will be the Sonic game for a new generation of Sonic fans. And that just makes me happy. That they can play a Sonic game that has heart, that is fun, that is passion-filled, that has a character, a protagonist that is likable and has good character traits and moments with his friends and is able to be fleshed out and three-dimensional, along with all of the supporting cast. The heart of this game is so pure and I love it so much, and I'm just so happy that we got Sonic Frontiers. This is not the traditional review, like I said, that I usually do, but once again, when it comes to stuff like this, I just like talking to you and giving you guys my opinion on it. I wanted to make this though because I might not be talking about Sonic Frontiers again for a very, very long time. I might have some maybe smaller videos on lore and references and stuff like that, but this game is now out. There's nothing really to talk about or look forward to in the future. We now have to look to the future. We have a new frontier to look forward to when it comes to Prime, when it comes to Movie 3, when it comes to the upcoming Sonic game, whatever that might be. I'm so excited to get into discussion of that and all the rumors and the leaks that we'll find about that. That's gonna be so fun. I just want to thank you guys sincerely for joining me on this journey with Sonic Frontiers. I know a lot of you guys are movie people. I know a lot of you guys are Prime people. I know a lot of you guys are Sonic Merch Hunt fans. Not all of you guys were big Sonic Frontiers people, but thank you guys for nonetheless sticking with me through the hype of Sonic Frontiers. It was very fun. I hope you guys will continue to join me on this Sonic the Hedgehog journey. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Feel free to follow my social media links to my Twitter and Instagram in the description below. You can follow those. Let's look at my life, which content, and all things Sonic the Hedgehog. But most importantly, if you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. This is the #1 destination on YouTube for all things Sonic, whether it's video games, TV shows, movies, comic books, merchandise, and more. We talk about it all. Things are only getting started, guys. I love you all so much. Thank you for watching this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.
Tell me you want